everybody! I'm here today to tell you about 7 practical steering tips for the driving test to help you pass the driving test. In this video, I'll be going over 7 steering tips, and they are absolutely practical steering tips that you can use to help you pass the driving test. Now, steering is a huge part of the driving test. It is essentially how you guide your car in one direction or another, or even how you drive your car in a straight line. So these tips, you should definitely use them. Let's get right into the video. I'm going to try and get through them rather quickly. I have some notes down here, so if you see me glancing down, that's what I'm looking at. Without further ado, let's get right into the video. Steering tip number 1 that is super practical is keep both hands on the wheel whenever possible. Now here's the thing, there are times in which you have to have one hand on the wheel, which is obviously if you're shifting gears in a manual car. But when you have 2 hands on the wheel, it's going to give you more control over the steering wheel than with one hand. Even if you're the best driver in the world, 2 hands are better than 1 hand. So with that being said, having 2 hands on the wheel will give you more control, which will give you a better chance at passing the driving test. More control equals a better chance at passing. Just keep 2 hands on the wheel whenever you can. Practical steering tip number 2 is going to be use the preferred steering method for where you live. Now there are different steering methods that you can use. You have hand over hand steering, okay? You have push pull steering, you have one-handed steering. There are a few different methods that you can use. Now wherever you live is going to have a commonly accepted method, okay? They're all safe ways to steer if you use them properly, but maybe where you live they prefer hand over hand. Maybe where you live, they prefer the push-pull method. Use whatever is preferred where you live to get your license. Once you have your license, you can use whichever one you feel the most comfortable with. But for the test, use whatever the driving examiner is going to look at and say, wow, that's what we like to see, so I'm going to give you a good mark, okay? Practical steering tip number 3 is to make your turns and lane changes smoothly. If you make rough turns and rough lane changes, you're not going to be in a good position. If your driving examiner is going like this on the test, you're not going to be in a good position. All of your turns and lane changes should be smooth. And the best way to actually accomplish that is simply going to be by practicing. The more that you practice, the better that you'll be at making these smooth lane changes and turns. So practice, practice, practice until you're absolutely amazing at making smooth lane changes and smooth turns. The 4th practical steering tip is going to be grip the wheel firmly, but not too firm. So you want to have a firm grip on the wheel so that you actually have control of it, but you don't want to be like, I'm gripping this for my life. No, because what that's going to do is that's going to make everything rough. By having a firm grip on the wheel, you're not going to lose control, but by keeping it not too firm and, basically by being flexible, you're going to make everything smooth. Compare these 2 motions. If I have too firm of a grip, look at how rough that is. I can't really, it's very like staccato, as they say in music. I'm a musician, right? So staccato, boom, 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 right? And that's not what you want, okay? I think that's the term staccato, when you're like cha, 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 cha. Anyways, that's not what you want. You want smoothness. So you want to be able to grip it firmly enough so that you don't lose control of it, but you still want to be able to smoothly turn it right and left, okay? Just like that. That was tip number 4. Now, practical tip number 5 is going to be square up your shoulders with the steering wheel. And this involves proper posture and the proper seating position. You want to get your shoulders and square them up with the steering wheel. Meaning, if you look right here, my shoulder is at relatively the same height as my fist over here, my hand over here, but there's a bend like this. You don't want to be like this, okay? That's not what I mean by square it up. You also don't want to be like this. You want to be something like that. So you want your fist to be roughly at the same height as your shoulder, give or take, right? And then you want a little bend in your arm, just like that. And by doing that, it's going to keep your car centered. If you're a little to the right like this, you're going to just steer to the right. If you're a little to the left, you're going to steer to the left, right? You want to steer straight and drive in a straight line as easily as possible, with as little effort as possible, so you can focus on other things. So square up your shoulders with the steering wheel. It's as simple as that. Practical steering tip number 6 is turn the wheel at the right speeds. And by that I mean not too fast and not too slow. And I'm not talking about the actual speed of your car. Like, I'm not talking about 40 kilometers an hour, 60 kilometers an hour. I'm talking about the speed in which you're turning the wheel. So if you need to turn the wheel fast for a certain type of turn, then turn it fast, right? But if you need to turn the wheel slowly, then make sure you're turning it slowly. And different turns, different types of turns at different car speeds speeds will require you to turn the steering wheel at different turning speeds, right? At different wheel speeds. So make sure that you practice enough so that you know, like without thinking about it, you just naturally know how quickly you have to turn the wheel. Last but not least, the practical steering tip number 7 that will help you pass your driving test is going to be know how much to turn the wheel for different types of turns and different types of maneuvers. Here's the thing. When you switch lanes, you don't need to turn the wheel like this. When you switch lanes, you just kind of veer to the right and veer to the left. You just slightly turn the wheel. When you do a 3-point turn or a U-turn, you got to turn the wheel all the way in one direction or the other, right? When you're doing a regular turn, depending on how sharp it is, you either have to turn the wheel, you know, like that, let's say that. It depends on the turn itself. But the key factor is this. You really want to make sure that you know how much to turn the wheel before you actually start the maneuver. You don't want to be doing a 3-point turn and then you're like, oh, wait, I started it, now I have to turn it more. No, you want to know. And the key factor to that is just practice. The more that you practice, the better that you'll be at doing that. And that's basically it. Those are 7 practical steering tips for the driving test to help you pass the driving test. Okay, so basically use these tips to your advantage and you'll be great at steering your car, and they will hopefully help you pass your driving test. Okay, 7 practical steering tips to help you pass the driving test. It's literally as simple as that. Give yourself the best chance at passing by using these steering tips. And that's it. If you liked the video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Let me know what you think down below as a comment. And of course, be sure to subscribe for more great car and driving videos just like this one. Sorry, I really like, I'm just looking at the viewfinder and I'm like, wow, this light looks great on my arm. I know that sounds so overly confident, but you know, when you have a mirror in front of you all day when you're filming, that's what you end up coming down to. All right, that's it. You know, if you like it, give it a thumbs up. Let me know what you think down below as a comment. And of course, be sure to subscribe for more great car and driving videos just like this one. And that's all I have for you today. Sorry about the long conclusion. Thanks for watching.